The year is 2025. The global economy is on the mend, but tensions are brewing. On one side stands the G7, a group of wealthy democracies, long the dominant force in international trade. On the other side, a new power bloc is rising. BRICS Plus, a loose coalition of emerging economies led by China and Russia. The fault line between these two groups? Donald Trump's legacy of transactional tariffs, his parting gift to the world. The G7, with its emphasis on free trade, views these tariffs as economically damaging and politically counterproductive. BRICS Plus, meanwhile, sees them as a symptom of a declining West, an opportunity to reshape the global order in their favor. This essay will explore the contrasting positions of these two blocs, highlighting the key arguments made by their leaders and the potential consequences for the future of global trade. The stage for this economic and geopolitical drama is set. The players are in position, the world holds its breath. The G7 nations, once the undisputed leaders of the global economy, find themselves in a precarious position. Their commitment to free trade, a cornerstone of their post-war prosperity, is being challenged by a rising tide of protectionism. The election of Donald Trump in 2024 and his subsequent reimposition of tariffs on Chinese goods has exacerbated these tensions, creating a rift within the G7 itself and emboldening those who seek to undermine the rules-based international order.
These tariffs harm everyone, including American consumers and businesses. They are a threat to global economic stability and a gift to China.
Yes, indeed. Beijing is now positioning itself as a champion of free trade and a responsible global actor.
We must stand united against Trump's protectionism. The G7 must uphold the principles of free trade and multilateralism that have served us so well in the past.
However, the G7's commitment to free trade is not without its internal divisions. While most members recognize the need for a coordinated response to Trump's protectionism, some are tempted to pursue their own bilateral deals with China, hoping to gain a competitive advantage in a world increasingly defined by economic nationalism. This lack of unity within the G7 only strengthens China's hand, giving it more leverage to negotiate favorable trade deals and advance its own geopolitical agenda. Donald Trump's return to the White House in 2024 sent shockwaves through the global economy. His America First agenda, a potent cocktail of protectionism, isolationism, and nationalist rhetoric, had already disrupted the global order during his first term. His second term promised more of the same, with tariffs on Chinese goods being just the tip of the iceberg.
We need to protect American jobs and industries from unfair Chinese trade practices. China has been stealing American jobs for decades, taking advantage of lax trade deals and intellectual property theft to enrich itself at our expense. My solution is simple. Impose tariffs on Chinese goods, making them more expensive for American consumers and businesses, forcing them to buy American.
However, Trump's tariff policy was not without its critics, even within his own party. Many argued that these tariffs would harm American consumers more than they would help American businesses, leading to higher prices and job losses in sectors that relied on Chinese imports. They also pointed out that tariffs were a blunt instrument, likely to provoke retaliation from China and damage the global economy without addressing the underlying issues in the US-China trade relationship. On the other side of the world, the BRICS Plus nations watched Trump's tariff tantrum with a mixture of amusement and alarm. Amusement, because they saw it as confirmation of their long-held belief that the West, led by the United States, was in decline, its economic and political dominance waning. Alarm, because they knew that a trade war between the US and China would have devastating consequences for the global economy, from which they would not be immune. The BRICS Plus leaders, a diverse group with often conflicting interests, found common ground in their opposition to Trump's tariffs. They saw these tariffs as protectionist, unilateral, and a violation of the rules-based international trading system. They argued that these tariffs would harm developing countries the most, hurting their economies and undermining their efforts to lift millions out of poverty. Their response, however, was not one of passive observation. They saw an opportunity in this crisis, a chance to reshape the global order in their favor. They pledged to deepen their own economic cooperation, reduce their reliance on the US dollar, and promote a more multipolar world, one in which their voices and interests would carry more weight. Section 5. Putin's power play, turning sanctions into opportunity. Vladimir Putin. For me, Trump's tariffs were a gift from the geopolitical gods. Already facing Western sanctions over his annexation of Crimea and meddling in Ukraine, Putin saw an opportunity to turn this crisis to his advantage, to further his goal of weakening the West and promoting Russia as a great power. Vladimir Putin. I wasted no time in positioning Russia as a reliable alternative to the United States, a provider of energy, food and military hardware to countries feeling the pinch of Trump's trade war. He deepened Russia's economic ties with China, signing lucrative energy deals and coordinating their efforts to reduce their reliance on the US dollar. Vladimir Putin. I also seized the opportunity to expand Russia's influence in Africa, the Middle East and Latin America, offering these countries an alternative to the West's embrace of democracy and human rights. He presented Russia as a champion of national sovereignty, a defender of traditional values, and a bulwark against American hegemony. Section 6. Lula's Balancing Act, Between Cooperation and Competition. Luiz Inácio. Lula da Silva, the veteran leftist leader of Brazil, found himself in a delicate position. He shared the BRICS plus nations' concerns about Trump's tariffs and their potential impact on the global economy. However, he also recognized that Brazil, as a major agricultural exporter, stood to benefit from a trade war between the US and China.
We must strike a balance. While condemning Trump's tariffs, we should also seek to exploit the opportunities they create for Brazilian businesses.
He called for a negotiated solution to the US-China trade dispute, urging both sides to return to the negotiating table and find a way to coexist peacefully. However, Lula also made it clear that Brazil would not hesitate to defend its own interests, even if it meant aligning itself more closely with China.
We are signing new trade deals with Beijing, increasing Chinese investment in Brazil's infrastructure, and even exploring the possibility of joining China's Belt and Road Initiative.
This move, of course, much to the consternation of the United States. Section 7. Modi's Measured Approach, Diplomacy First. Narendra Modi, the pragmatic Prime Minister of India, adopted a more cautious approach. He recognized the threat that Trump's tariffs posed to the global economy, but he was also wary of alienating the United States, a key security partner for India in its rivalry with China.
We must walk a diplomatic tightrope. Publicly criticizing Trump's tariffs might not be wise, but we must mitigate their impact on our economy.
Modi chose to walk this tightrope, refraining from publicly criticizing Trump's tariffs while simultaneously seeking to mitigate their impact on the Indian economy. He engaged in shuttle diplomacy, speaking with both Trump and Xi Jinping, urging them to find a peaceful solution to their trade dispute.
We must find a peaceful solution to this trade dispute. It is essential for global stability.
However, Modi also made it clear that India would not be a passive bystander in this geopolitical chess game. He strengthened India's ties with other Asian powers, such as Japan and Australia, and sought to position India as a counterweight to China's growing influence in the region. Section 8. Xi's Vision, A New World Order. Xi Jinping, the paramount leader of China, saw in Trump's tariffs not just a threat but also an opportunity. He recognized that a trade war with the United States would be costly for China, but he also believed that it was a necessary pain, a test of China's resilience, and a catalyst for its rise to global leadership.
This is a test of our resilience. We can use this opportunity to rally support for our vision of a new era for China.
Xi used Trump's tariffs to rally support for his vision of a new era for China, one in which it would no longer play second fiddle to the United States. He accelerated China's efforts to become technologically self-sufficient, pouring resources into artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and other cutting-edge industries.
We must pour resources into becoming technologically self-sufficient. This is our path to global leadership.
Xi also doubled down on China's Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project designed to connect China to the rest of Asia, Africa, and Europe. He saw the BRI as a way to expand China's economic and geopolitical influence, creating a network of countries dependent on Chinese trade and investment. Section 9. A Fractured Future Towards a Multipolar World. The year is 2025 and the world is a very different place than it was just a few years ago. The global economy is fractured, divided between a US-led bloc and a China-led bloc, each with its own rules, standards, and alliances. The dream of a rules-based international order, a legacy of the post-World War II era, lies in tatters. Donald Trump's tariffs, his parting gift to the world, have accelerated this process of fragmentation, pushing the United States and China further apart and forcing other countries to choose sides. The G7, once a symbol of Western unity and global leadership, is deeply divided, its commitment to free trade wavering in the face of Trump's protectionism. The BRICS Plus nations, sensing an opportunity, are seeking to reshape the global order in their favor, promoting a more multipolar world in which their voices and interests carry more weight. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the world is entering a new era, one defined by great power competition, economic nationalism, and a retreat from globalization.